Good. All right. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. We'll hold order at 7:31 a.m. We'll just stand for the Pledge of Allegiance since they don't do that downstairs.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. First order of business, recommended actions. Looking for approval of minutes from the October 2nd meeting.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Glory, second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Lucy. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. There's no old business, project administration, discussion action, bid reviews and awards. Bid number 25-0006, Cedar Hill and Wyman Building Envelope. Mr. Godfrey.
All right, I'd like to take A and B together, if that's possible. Okay, when we put these four projects out to bid, we got the bids back, low bids in total for the four projects, 3.523 over budget. I don't see how we can do these projects and move forward as is. So I'm going to bring three options to the committee. First option is, number one, you push all the remaining of the $56 million and move it to the high schools. Option number two would be to do what we did with the HVAC projects and pick the schools with the worst building envelopes and move the money there. My office's, Mike and I's recommendation is to reduce the scope so we touch all the remaining elementary schools and hit all the doors. Not do the windows right now, but as a building envelope, hit all the doors, take care of the security issues, fix any broken windows that are not operable, and then come back with the remaining funds and reassess what the committee would like to recommend moving forward. So that's our recommendation, and I'll move it open for discussion with the committee.
Okay, so what's on the agenda right now are the bids as submitted with the overages, right?
Correct.
All right, so what we would have to do is if we want to take another path, then we would vote not to approve these bids,
Correct.
right? Okay, I do apologize, my VPN needs to be updated. Okay, and so the options were to just stop doing anything else on the projects for the 56 million.
Right.
What was the second option? Do these as
Second
submitted?
option would be do as we did with the HVAC projects, since they were all way over budget, and pick the worst schools with the worst building envelopes, and apply the money there.
Yep.
Which would mean there'd be several buildings that didn't get anything.
Yep.
Our recommendation is to reduce scope, hit all the doors, and we address all the, that way we address the major security issues. And then once we get those done, we come back to the committee and say, all right, we have this much money left. Where do you want to go with it?
All right, so what I think we should, we can discuss these things, and the vote we're going to take is to approve those or not approve the two bids submitted. And then we can have a conversation, right, about
Whatever
course
decided
is to
will have to
take.
go to school committee.
What,
Okay.
in the scope, what are you taking out?
Window replacement.
What is that? That one, figure that. So,
It's the most substantial part of that. So if you look at Park, it's probably about $1 million.
They're all hurricane windows.
Right, yeah, these are all hurricane windows, right?
Yeah, so these buildings require hurricane windows because of the codes so far away from the water. So,
I mean, I'm motion on to reject the bids as submitted and support the door replacements for security.
Right.
Yeah, I think, the $56 million bond was passed, and when that went out, we made promises that we're gonna touch all these schools that were contained within that bid, so I'm not a fan of saying, well, we're only gonna, net will only end up doing half, or whatever. I think we have to do as much as we can to as many buildings as we can to keep with that promise. I think that's the fairest way to go.
And Jen put a package together for us. Right now, we have, the bond one remaining monies, about $750,000.
That's the 40 million bond one.
Right. $56 million bond two. We have about $11.5 million left. So there will be money left after this. We just don't know what it'll be. The numbers are all over the place. If we look at what we be doing, many of the buildings such as Hoxie, Cedar Hill Park, we still would have to hit the entries. And there is storefront there, so that would have to get done. So we would be doing some visually impactful work. And it's also security.
So if we only did the entryways to the schools.
No, we also be doing the perimeter, all the doors. You look at Lippet, doors are bad all over the place, so we would hit, I would say 90% of the doors in these buildings, exterior doors.
And what will be left after that?
I couldn't tell you right now.
And
So that-
windows.
No, not touching any windows yet.
Okay.
We would repair windows. Let me rephrase that. We would touch some windows, but we would be doing repairs. There's some operable windows at Cedar Hill that I know to get repaired, so we have to take a look and assess, repair what we can. And then see what's available.
I just don't see a better way around it. I don't. I think, like I said, you kind of peanut butter it across all the buildings and then see what's left. And now, what can we do with what's left? And whether that's window repair across all the buildings, but that's another decision. That'd be a separate decision for this committee to decide to do. Any other thoughts?
We could add a few alternates for the worst windows to be replaced. Do a couple of
Right.
alternates, just in case.
I
the door
mean,
number
if
comes
you look
in.
at, vets, there's a big window wall, cafeteria windows there, and that has split. That would need to be replaced. And there may be a couple areas that are really bad at other schools, but we would assess that and include that as part of the package. But generally, the majority of the work is going to be exterior doors, windows, doing door access where it's needed, where we don't have it, hard swipes, that type of thing, making the buildings more secure.
Just have to think of equity.
Well, that's why we touch every building, every school's getting approximately the same.
And explain why this.
Right.
this
And
is-
that we bring that forward to the school committee, and there'd be another discussion there, because they would have to back up and prove this decision.
And doors are in it for a part of security at the buildings.
Right, and it's part of the envelope package anyway, so we're just
Yeah.
decreasing scope to fit budget.
Yeah.
At this point in time.
Any other comments?
But what are we agreeing to today?
Well,
I have a motion on the floor to reject these two bids as submitted
4 bids.
for A and B, and then
Yep.
in advance, the building envelopes for the doors and all the schools.
I second.
His motion was to reject bids 25-0006 and 0007. And then we would instruct Mr. Gottberg and Mr. Ifredi to pursue replacing doors at all of the schools.
But we
Part of that.
don't know the dollar figure for what that would cost.
Absolutely.
yet.
We'd have to, there's gonna be some redesign that has to get done. These 4 bid packages will have to be reworked to fit the new scope. And then we can move forward and we can start working on the other schools.
Can't we wait until we have pricing in order to move forward?
But that's what you do, though, right? 'Cause what happened is,
They're effectively asking me to place.
yeah, that's
Well,
what we do.
we have to go out to bid to get pricing.
Right.
Yeah, this is not something where I'm gonna do an estimate and stand by it. I'm not gonna do that. because I can't be accurate. We get the bid, we get the numbers, we see where we are. And then we have to bring that to the committee anyway, and you'll get a feel for the first 4 where we are.
And and at that point, we can still decide to pivot if we decide that that project is not necessarily the direction we'd want to go.
Well, I guess.
You could always,
I mean, you can stop it.
you could always reject what he brings forward.
You know, the committee's gonna have to make a decision how they want to go.
Yeah, so I think personally, I think the prudent course is to do what Mr. Kravitz said. So we instruct Steve and Mike to go explore, okay, replacing doors at all the schools, you know. And then we see where we're at, right? And we could reject what they bring before us and go back and try plan C, right? If we have to. So we're not saying that we're going to absolutely.
And the school committee has to agree to this
Right.
because we're reallocating scope. The funds are staying within the school. Okay, so we don't have to go to RIDE for this.
Yeah.
But the school committee needs to, because we're changing scope and we're not doing what we said we're gonna do, the school committee has to be on board with this.
Okay, so we have Mr. Kravitz's motion, seconded by Ms. Valori. Any other discussion for that? Everybody clear what it is?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so if there's no other discussion, I'll call a vote. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you, Steve. Next, bid number 240023, owner's hazardous material consulting. Oh, I'm sorry. John,
I
sorry.
can speak to that one. So in the conversations that I was having with ECM Hazmat Consulting about coordinating their survey of the Drumrock building, specifically so that we can start the demo process for that in early next year, it was understood or realized that they hadn't carried the scope for the Drumrock building in their initial proposal. I'd asked for a new proposal to include that scope of services for survey and for the state required report for the Drumrock building specifically. They gave it to me. It's in total $8,470. So that, in addition to their original fee, is still $20,000 less than the second lowest bidder. So, and in my conversations with them, that will capture the entirety of the scope that we need for both schools, Annex Building and Pilgrim, the Pilgrim High School itself, Drumrock, CTC, and the toll gate building. So we've captured everything. I'd recommend approval of that proposal for $8,470.
Ken, was the Drumrock piece included in the initial request for proposal?
It wasn't clear, I think, and I'd have to go back to the RFP, but I think that they followed the RFP to the extent that it was clear. So I think that they're owed the money just based on kind of the ambiguity of the RFP, unfortunately. So.
And again, the ambiguity is they weren't aware they were supposed to demo the building.
Yes, I don't.
How do you miss that?
This is testing for asbestos.
Yeah,
and-
right.
Okay. So however it was written.
Yeah, you can look at the wording in the RFP, but there was a misunderstanding. But it was captured in the other proposals, which tells me that they understood it. This particular firm didn't get that, so if had it been more comparable in terms of the total price, we'd say, well, then we consider pushing back, but because they're still so much lower, we weren't fighting, but as per the committee's.
Yeah, to me, the $8,700 or $8,400 is what kind of rankles me a little bit. It's process. So, but we don't have what the RFP said, right? I'd like to see what the RFP said. I'd like to be able to, for this committee, to draw its own conclusions as to how vague it was.
Right.
Because if we don't feel it was actually that vague, I don't, yeah, I
The
think
other
we're,
firms didn't miss it.
right,
True.
You know?
right. So, yeah, all right, so what we could do is just table this, if that's okay, and we'll just reach out to ECM. We just want a little more information. Okay, so
I make a motion.
Yeah, let's make a motion to table. Motion moved by Mr. Kravitz to table. I'll second. Any discussion? And seconded by Mr. Holmes.
Now, are they under contract with the existing structures now?
They're not under contract.
Have
Well,
we
they
awarded them a contract?
had been awarded a purchase order.
Any other questions? All right, hearing none, all in favor of tabling? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next, D3, recommended awards, Sakosha and Associates, items A and B, 26.57 and 50 cents, and $3,888. Mr. Just you, Mr. Gofford?
This would be me. Okay, the first one is
Oakland Beach.
Oakland Beach. This is gonna come up shortly, the result of this, but when we did the original inspection of the brick facade, determined the scope of work, there were certain areas where we pulled out brick to look behind and see what the backup brick looked like. Everything looked fairly solid, and the drawings were done accordingly. When we pulled the brick veneer down, it became very apparent that in most areas, the backup brick was in very, very, very poor condition and needed to be inspected by a structural engineer, which is additional scope. So that's what this is for. The engineer came out and did a complete review of the now exposed backup brick, and this is his cost to do that and come up with an SK to do the repair, which I will bring up next.
Okay. So do one at a time?
Yes.
Yes, for two different buildings, okay. All right, so, excuse me, any questions for, Mr. Gothberg or Sakosha on the brick facade repair? Hearing none, looking for a motion to approve Sakosha for $2,657.50.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Lucy, second by Superintendent Dambrug. Any other questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Next, Steve.
The next one is for professional estimating for the Robertson building envelope project 388. We will be able to, this had to be done for RIDE, but should be able to reuse this estimate for the doors, so we won't have to do it again.
Okay. Any questions for Steve? Okay, hearing none, looking for a motion to approve Sakosha item B for $3,888. So moved by Mr. Brandon, seconded by Mr. Kravitz. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next. Change order reports, Holloman. Yeah, we'll do that first.
Okay, first one, we
PCO
have
1,
4
2, 3, and 5.
PCOs. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, and 5. 4 is placeholder. Number 1 is when we pulled the ceiling down in the pre-engineered additions in the back, we found that I can't figure out why someone cut 18 by 18 holes in the middle of the supporting beams, all the supporting beams. I think they were going to run ductwork through it. However, with the hanging of the new equipment, we really had to patch and support. So that was done. We also, when we pulled down the ceiling in that area, we found that years ago, the roof deck had rotted out. And it was hanging down, so we got some steel and put it up there to re-support it. Everything was reviewed by the engineer and the architects, and we seek your approval for $4,359 for that PCO number 1.
So was some of that actually just hidden?
It was all above the ceiling, yeah.
Yeah, so when the last part you talked about the deck, some of the decking had collapsed. You think that collapsed after that ceiling, or was
Oh,
it?
no, it was it was a metal deck, and it had rotted out over the years. and it actually was hanging down. And,
Okay.
because
Just
it was
trying to-
above the ceiling, I can't explain to you why it was never repaired, never, if we're gonna reuse the building, it had to be supported.
No, I understand. That's just,
I don't know.
I get.
Some of the stuff I find, is beyond my comprehension.
I know.
We address it as we find it.
All right, so we'll take them one at a time. All right, so any other questions for Steve on PCO number 1 for $4,359? Okay, hearing none, looking for a motion to approve, Holloman PCO number 1 for $4,359. Moved by Mr. Kravitz, second by Mr. Lucy. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. The next one, PCO number 2, Steve.
PCO number 2, at the front office area, once again, this was hidden above hard ceilings. At these schools, it would have been Holloman, Sherman, Christopher Rhodes, and Wicks. The main office used to be open to the corridor. And then at Holloman specifically, there was a plaster ceiling that went in. So they only built the ceiling, the new wall to separate the main office from the corridor to the underside of that. We couldn't tell that. And when we did our initial inspection, we ripped everything down. That didn't go all the way up. And now you have a fire rated wall that needed to be put on top of the existing wall. So, $1,547 to create a rated wall between the corridor and main office.
Someday we'll have all new elementary schools. Don't
Someday.
have any of this stuff that was hacked over the years. All right, any questions for Steve on that? Hearing none, looking for a motion to approve PCO number 2 for $1,547.
So moved.
Moved by Superintendent Danbrook, seconded by Mr. Kravitz. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Steve, PCO number 3, $9,616.
At Holloman, because once again, we had hard asbestos ceiling running throughout the original part of the building. All the low voltage cable has been run below that. So to get a much better look and finished product, I asked for a number to what it would take to take all that low voltage cable and get it up above the ceiling.
Painted.
Hey, what's that?
I'm just kidding.
Painted gray.
Make it take the
We're
whole.
gonna paint it anyway, but I don't think it'll be grass. So this is a number to move all that low voltage cabling up, get it above the ceiling, get a much better look, much cleaner look. This stuff just hangs down. And we couldn't tell if we were going to be able to do it or not when we originally designed the project. We've talked about it and said, let's wait and see if it can be done, because we wouldn't be able to get a number on it. So now we have the number, $9,616. I do recommend this. It seems like a lot of money, but it's gonna make a much better finished
Are they
product.
gonna give you an as-built for this?
We're not rerouting, all we're doing is
But
picking.
it'll be above a ceiling.
Right, but it's not a hard
And
ceiling.
everything we don't see is because, so, and I mean, if you get an as-built.
Well, we do.
They own
a set of
as-built.
Then you would have something on file for the next guy that comes in and says, hey, there's something above the ceiling.
Well, there's a lot of stuff about, but this.
You're on
this is part of
this,
that.
right?
Yeah.
They own as-bills.
Okay, that's.
Yeah, it'll be pretty obvious, but yes, it'll be part of the aspect.
I'd make a motion to approve.
Okay. All right, so it's a motion to approve PCO number 3, second. I'll second. Any other discussion for Steve, questions? Okay, hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, last one, PCO number 5, $2,187.
Okay, when we go back and forth, switchgear is expensive, long lead time. The original design was to have top entry conduit into the switchgear. It was a longer lead time and it was more expensive. So the electrical contractor suggested bottom entry, where the conduit comes underground and up. We had to dig the trench anyway to the building, but to save money, which was like like $10,000. We came in, trenched into the building. That cost $21,87, so we saved about $8,000 by doing it this way. So to me, it was the smartest thing to do, save some money.
And was that the service at Holloman? Was that the one that was off, came in from outside of the building, was low? We have to move that.
That was the backside, that was the back, there were two electrical services there. Now they're in one.
Any
Yeah, what they
questions?
did there was they brought, when they did that re-engineered building, they brought a separate service to that section because there wasn't enough power to run it.
That, this would be all within, the allowance for the budget for this, project.
Yes, I mean, it's a change, but,
Your resources available to support it.
right.
Okay, any other questions for Steve? All right, looking for motion to approve PCO number 5 for $2,187.
So
Moved by Mr. Lucy, seconded by Ms. Word.
Yes, sir.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next, PCO. Where are we?
102.
Yeah, Oakland Beach facade, PCO 1R2. I couldn't print this one out. Okay,
This one hurts, but
Yes,
we
it does.
don't have a choice on it. When the engineer did his work with the facade, he went up, saw what had to be done. They put an SK together for the repair of the backup brick. Their initial PCO was $105,000 through Al's. Very hard negotiation. We got $10,000 off, and we're down to $95,000. So we seek your approval for $95,000. It's a substantial amount of work, special fasteners.
what part of the building was this? Was this the original part?
No, this is the facade. Yeah, it's the old above the limestone
Yeah,
cornice.
it's part that has all the staging up right now.
Mhm.
Right. Okay,
And Steve, do you think this is a fair price?
Yeah, we worked,
Yeah.
Al worked especially hard on this. We went back and forth for, we battled with him hard on this one. Very
I'll
hard.
make a motion to approve.
motion, second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Lucy. I have a question. So is this the entire facade, the entire length of the facade?
Yes.
Yes, it is. That's, how many feet is that?
It's 200 and change.
Oh, yeah, it is. Okay. All right, so it's moved and seconded. Any other questions? All right, hearing none, all in favor? Aye. No opposed. I heard someone cough in there, but, okay, no opposed, so motion carries. Okay, next, Steve, you got Oakland Beach, PCO 36, 37, 38, 48.
We don't mind going to add 25 to it. And 40.
Um,
Can we do that?
no, it's not on the agenda. We can't add it. All right, so we're doing 36, 37, 38,
48.
and 48. Thank
All
you.
right, number 36, is the domestic water mixing valve was bad. Leaking like a sieve, so we got an SK to go ahead and change that. So $3,256 replace that.
You mentioned that at a previous
Yeah.
meeting,
I did.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so we're looking
We
for,
need to get a formal approval on it, so. I'm good with that.
all right, we have to, you need it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so you want to do one at a time? Yeah, let's do
Yeah.
one at a time. All right, so I'm looking for a motion to accept PCO 36. PCO 36 for $3,256. Moved by Mr. Kravitz. I'll second. Any questions? Okay, hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next one, number 37 for $3,000.
37 for $3,942. When we opened up the existing switchgear and went to move the cables around, we found that whoever had installed the original cabling had actually cut strands of the cable to make them fit to the terminal adapters, which is illegal. And to make it work, those terminal adapters had to be changed out to the right size. put in, this was the cost of the material and to reinstall, take out the old, install the internal adapters. I've never seen anything done like that before, so I don't know how it got inspected and passed.
Yeah, so like, when was that work done?
What's that?
Question.
When was the work that was done illegally
It
done?
was quite a while ago.
Like 5 years?
No, way before I got here. I can't even tell you. I'd say 25 years ago minimum.
Yeah, well, wouldn't it be records somewhere?
What, there should be.
We would have records, whether it's the finance office, the buildings and grounds office. Because we have capital.
A lot of things got thrown out down at buildings and grounds, and I don't know why, but there are no
I mean,
records for this.
just wondering if you can go back.
Right, exactly. Because
I looked to find and and a lot of times the other thing that happened was permits weren't pulled. The district was notorious for not pulling permits before. And we make sure we pull permits now things are done properly.
so that'd have been our own staff who would have?
No,
Okay.
I would hope not.
Yeah, okay.
I would hope that our electricians would not be putting in switch gear.
Yeah, this is the stuff I have to tell you. I mean, I don't say it as a swoop, I say it as a swoop from but I say it as a taxpayer. It just frosts me. Do it right. So then there's a record that it's done. It's like systemic here. Okay. Now, so looking for a motion to approve PCO 37 for $3,942.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Calori, second by Mr. Holmes. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. PCO number 38, $2,683.
Throughout the building, we did an assessment when we first started the project. There were probably 10 lights that were bad. It didn't work. So as we got through the project, we did a final cut, replace the lights. This is the total to do that, which is $2,683.
These interior lights or exterior?
These are interior lights, and some of them were fluorescent that didn't work anymore, so we went with LEDs.
Okay. All right, any questions for Steve on PCO 38? Okay, hearing none, looking for a motion to approve PCO 38 for $2,683.
So moved.
Moved by Superintendent Hambrick, seconded by Mr. Kravitz. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, last one, PCO 48.
When we're going through the project, we found that there were several doors without weather stripping, which was going to be needed since we were putting a new HVAC system and wanted to keep air infiltration. So we added at several doors astricals and weather stripping. So $1,483.
Any questions for Steve on that? All right, hearing none, look for motion to approve PCO number 48 for $1,483. Moved by Mr. Kravitz, second by Mr. Lucy. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, next, Warwick Neck ADA elevator and site, PCOs 9 and 17.
9 is, we got in the project, fire, hold open, the doors had to be relocated. To do that work, was $1,765. We seek your approval on
The comments say that's under review by architect.
Right,
So
that was-
has it been reviewed?
Yeah, has been reviewed by architect and engineer.
All right, and that is a additional disconnect. No,
What's that?
the fire door hold opens.
Right.
All right, any questions for Steve on that one? Okay, hearing none, looking for motion to approve PCO number 9 for $1,765.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Lucy, second by Mr. Holmes and Mr. Kravitz. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next one's the PCO 17, conduit for phone line, $1,583.
It was not in the plans, but the elevator company required conduit for the phone line. Engineer did not put it in, but the elevator company, the elevator thought that it was required. So we had to get it done. So $1,583 for the conduit to the phone line for the elevator.
have one question on that.
Yep.
And on that PCO form, it says the approved amount is 796.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah.
So it's
Yeah,
796.
I'm sorry. Yep, 796. I negotiated that down.
Okay.
What we did was they had supervision. I said, why are we paying supervision when you already got guys here? So they took it out and it was just a cost for that. So thank you, Dave. $96.
All right, so any questions for Steve? Okay, hearing and looking for motion to approve PCO number 17 for $796.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Lucy, second by Mr. Kravitz. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, excuse me, consent calendars, consent authorization. Okay, all board constructions, item A through D. You want to do them as a group, Steve, or do you want to do one at a time? Yes, no, we can- maybe-
I just want to, why don't we do A through C and then I'll explain when.
Yeah.
So A through C, with Greenwood, Holloman, Warwick Neck, all reviewed and approved by both, Mr. Ifredi, myself, and Mr. Capagno. So we seek your approval for A, B, and C.
Okay. Let's do them one at a time.
Okay.
All right, so I've been looking for a motion to approve application A for $154,445.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Calori, second. Second by Mr. Lucy. Any questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Looking for a motion to approve application B, $2,152,795. Moved by Mr. Kravitz, second. Second by Mr. Bowl. Questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Application number 3 for $183,095. Looking for motion to approve, moved by Mr. Kravitz. Second by Mr. Lucy. Any questions? Yeah, hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, Steve, application D.
Since Windman, most everything's Windman was completely done, there were some punch list items. I've been waiting for it to be done, balancing a few items that need to be taken care of. It is now, they've caught up and we're still holding some money. There's a couple little items left, but this is a majority of them, so we have reviewed it, we agree, we seek approval.
Questions for Steve?
Isn't the punch list items included in the scope of work?
Yeah, we don't pay them for, we don't pay for it till it's done. It's not additional. This is, we hold money until it's done.
I got a question.
Yeah.
All these applications have R1. Were they all revised? Is
Yeah,
that-
they were
Yes.
revised.
Okay.
We go back and forth on them. If we don't
Okay.
agree, then they send a
All right.
revision.
Particularly item B, you have no idea what I went through with those guys.
Okay.
So, and, Steve, at Women, is part of the, all board work, somebody told me that the auditorium is kind of disheveled there. Is that true? They said,
With the shovel,
and,
then we'll wait.
well, they said the auditorium was a bit of a mess because of construction. I didn't see it and I didn't get details, so I meant to ask you just, so if you could just have somebody check that out. I don't.
I checked it out. I don't.
Okay, maybe it's old.
Paint peeling, which was not part of our project.
Yeah,
There's some
okay.
stuff in there, but,
Now, this was more like the stuff in the way and
well, that's, I can't help it. We don't put stuff in there.
not construction material, so it would be
There's
people using the auditorium. Okay, all right. Okay,
They've been out of that area for over.
well, that's what I
a year.
thought. That's when I heard it, it just kind of didn't make much sense to me, but, okay. All right,
Yeah,
so,
I think, Mr. Principal Haywood would let me know if.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, okay. All right, so looking for a motion to approve application D for $73,136.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Lucy, seconded by Mr. Kravitz. Any questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next, BRA Consulting Engineers.
So BRA is our commissioning agent hired by the owner for the high school projects. Their role as commissioning agent during the design phase is a third-party independent review of the mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and drawings for both the schools. So they've completed reviews of the schematic design documents for both schools. And right now they are actively working on a review of the design development documents for the Pilgrim High School. That's a much more thorough review And the intent is that they're going to provide a list of comments and feedback on the document that we would give to the design team. And the design team will respond to those comments accordingly. With the overall intent is that they're helping the team with their insight and their expertise. So this is a progress payment for both schools, 5550. That's roughly about 2.5% of their total fee of 383,000. We recommend
Any questions for Steve or Mr. Bates or anyone on this? This was all part of the contract that we had approved months ago.
Yes.
As a reminder, this is a requirement of the school building authority process.
All right, so I'll be looking for a motion to approve items E and F.
So moved.
So moved by Ms. Glory, second by Mr. Holmes and Mr. Kravitz. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next, Communication Systems, Inc., $523.
Okay, as part of, this Oakland Beach, project, there was several items that were damaged. We brought CSI in. Berman took care of that cost, but we also found, I think it was 3 rooms, where there were no speakers for the PA system. So it's a dead zone of security issues. So we added those 3 speakers, and that's our responsibility. So I seek approval for that.
Okay. Any questions for Steve? Okay, hearing none, looking for a motion to approve item G for $523.50. Moved by Mr. Kravitz. Second by Mr. Lucy. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, next, Dimeo Construction High School pre-construction, items H and I.
So application number 6 for the Pilgrim High School, that 19,135 is their monthly flat fee for pre-construction services. It's 10% of the total fee for 10 months of pre-con. That includes cost estimating that they're actively doing every day, schedule reviews and development, and constructability advisement on the documents. So that's 19,000 is their flat rate per month. And then application 6 for the Tollgate High School, that includes both their $19,000 flat fee in addition to the cost for a security fence as requested by the owner for the drum rock to surround the drum rock area, and also the monthly invoice or rental fee for the modular classroom next to the CTC building. So that accounts for the difference from their 19,000 monthly fee to the total of 25,500. So,
Okay. All right. Any questions for Mr. Bates or Mr. Goffberg on either of those? Okay. Hearing none, I'd like to take them both together. Looking for a motion to approve items H and I totaling $44,653.93.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Corey. Second by Mr. Bowl. Any questions before I call a vote? All right. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next, E.W. Berman, items J and K. Steve, I think this is you.
J is for, the monthly requisition for the Oakland Beach facade, 53,266.50. Seek your approval there, and application number 2.
All right. So any questions for Steve on that?
Is that related to the $95,000 change?
That's,
Is that 53 a portion of the 95?
No.
this is part of the original work.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? Okay, looking for a motion to approve, item J for $53,266.50.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Holmes, second by Mr. Kravitz. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, item K, Steve, application 10.
This is for the Oakland Beach renovation project. They're winding down in pretty good shape. Commissioning, Mike's commissioning done. It'd be nice to have a
little bit more commission.
little more commissioning to do, so that this is not, there's still money being held, there's some commissioning and some balancing left to do, so there'll be, it is not closed out yet, so, but this is a progress payment, $398,387.94. Seek your approval.
Okay, any questions for Steve on that? Okay, hearing none, looking for motion to approve item K for $345,121.44.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Lucy, second by Mr. Bold and Mr. Kravitz. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Next, item L is left field, $110,000. This is
And this is their monthly,
Okay.
they are working hard and earning it, so seek your approval.
Okay, any questions for Steve on item L? Okay, hearing none, looking for a motion to approve item L. Moved by Mr. Bowles, second by Mr. Word. Any questions? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Next, item M, Rhode Island Analytical, $414.
This is for ongoing testing as we are doing abatement through the project. This is for, I believe this is for a section of windows that we abated. Okay, $414 for now analytical and secret.
Okay, any questions? Hearing none, looking for a motion to approve item M for $414. Moved by Mr. Kravitz, second by Mr. Lucy. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next, item N is for Psalm Architects, $519,920. Tobin High School project.
That's for design of the Tobin High School. As you know, the design is ongoing. They just recently finished the 100% design development documents currently being estimated. And this invoice, if accepted, would put them at roughly 35% of their total contract value. We find that it's in line. Recommend approval.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Bates?
Why is it September? Wouldn't we have approved this last month?
The November,
They typically go monthly. I can't,
Do we identify it wrong?
it's possible. I'll have to check.
Do we have that here?
Are you talking about left field?
yeah, no,
So
They bill that's September.
it's a monthly lag.
yeah, they tend to bill after the deadline, so they're usually a month behind.
So our last meeting was early October, I think, October 5th, I think.
So
So,
they probably, it wasn't quite received just in time.
and when it comes in here,
Well, we
Yes,
have cut,
they get it.
we have cutoff dates.
Yeah.
If the cutoff dates are not met, then it moves to the next month.
That's it. They review it, they send it to us.
right, so it's vetted a couple of times.
Right.
Okay. Okay. All right, any other questions for Mr. Bates or Mr. Gothberg? All right, hearing on, looking for a motion to approve item N for $519,000. Moved by Mr. Kravitz, second by Mr. Bold. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next, items O through BB, all Secosho.
It's for all our bond two, $56 million project, and a $40 million. This is for their design work and construction oversight. So, for all these projects, $60,242.05.
Do we have any questions on particular ones for hearing now? We'll take them all at once, be quicker. Motion to accept items O through BB made by Mr. Kravitz, second by Mr. Lucy. Any questions on any of them? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next, item CC, Secosho and Associates for Toledo High School, $265,815.
What period is that for? Is that for October?
Is this October? Steve, do you know?
It's always the month prior, so it is October.
Yeah, similar to the Pilgrim High School project, Secosho continues to work. You're currently partly through design development documents, correct? So this would be a progress payment for the work done.
This brings us up to about 35% of design development.
But they're not done yet. The DDs aren't done.
DDs are due on 12/6.
This is consistent, with the delays because of the redesign.
And
We had a meeting yesterday. Went pretty well.
sorry, yeah, we had a good meeting with Rod yesterday, just giving him an update on the status of the design relative to the budget in particular. They continue to be supportive, And just to add, Steve, I was able to just look at our tracking matrix, and it makes sense that you're actually just about 20% of your billing, and which would align with the fact that you're slightly behind schedule. So.
Any other questions for Mr. Bates or Mr. Guillermo or Mr. Godber? Okay, hearing none, looking for a motion to approve item CC for $265,850. Moved by Mr. Kravitz. Second by Mr. Lucy. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next, items DD and EE for totaling $5,309.50.
This is for Stephen Turner, who's doing the commissioning work on these two projects, the progress billings, and seek your approval. This is a ride required.
Any questions for Steve on these? Okay, hearing none, looking for a motion to approve items DD and EE. Moved by Mr. Bowl, second by Mr. Holmes. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next, item FF, sign it for $141.
We had a problem with the entry door at Norwood, but it was still under warranty. I brought in Signet because they were accused of having an issue with control wiring. There was no problem with it. It was a door itself. And so Coastal Glazing took care of the door, but Signet came out and was hanging on to their town to determine that there was nothing wrong on their end.
Okay. Any questions for Steve? Okay, hearing none, looking for motion to approve sign it for $141.
So moved.
Moved by Superintendent Danbrook, second by Mr. Kravitz. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Next, item GG, tie-in bonds, $6,075.
Time Bond is the owner's environmental engineer. And they are actively working on an assessment of the soil conditions at both schools. They've issued to us draft reports of their findings for what we call what's termed the environmental site assessment phase 1, which is essentially a research effort of the publicly available information. They haven't done any actual physical exploratory work. That would come in phase 2, which is coming. They found enough, nothing alarming, but they found enough evidence of previous activity and contaminant levels that would warrant a further exploration or a phase 2. So that is the conclusion of their phase 1 assessment. Anyway, that's an update on what they've been actively working on. The invoice in front of you is a progress payment for their work. 75% of the phase 1 scope.
Okay. Any other questions,
Do
Mr.
we know what the budget is for phase 2? Do we have to do a phase 2?
We're going to know at the next meeting. And yes, they do advise that we do a phase 2. Again, nothing alarming has been found, but there's enough gaps in information available publicly that we need to do a little more exploratory work. We're going to come to next month's meeting with a proposal for what it will cost to do test pits and survey analysis.
We are carrying a line item already in the budget for phase 2. So we're taking money off of somewhere else, but it will be planned for phase 2 into the budget. And just to your other point, do we have to? There are federal school siting laws, Department of Environmental Management, RIDE, school building authorities, all of them say where's your environmental site assessments. You should get it done now before being told.
And later on, their actual reports here. And
Yeah, we can go through the
it's
report.
little highlights on stuff. It's like, really? So goes back to my point about what we did in the last 40 years.
Yeah, Mr. Testa, so some of that, when you're making your point, I was actually gonna say, wait till you get to the bond report, but apparently.
So no, we're going there. We have to approve that report.
To Mr. Spiegel's point, we carry a total of 43,500 for both phase 1 and phase 2. The phase 1 alone is only 13,500. So we do have a balance in that budget line item to accommodate a phase 2 effort. So again, this current invoice in front of you is for 75% of the phase 1 services only.
I know we're only supposed to approve the amounts, but I'm looking at this, the time bond, first page number 5. if they could do their test pits in that area, if they know where those tanks are, I would recommend it because they
Yeah,
weren't
so
supervised.
we're gonna have to approve this report. This is in the new business.
Oh, okay.
Yes, we're gonna approve, we're gonna debate this and
All right.
approve this report. And I'd like to talk about that report a little further.
To your point, you know, there's been some stories in the news recently about just what we're talking about, underground storage tanks. Things like that. So
Right.
We can discuss that.
Yeah, the other ones were supervised as removed. That's fine, but. All right.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for Mr. Bates on the time bond? Okay, hearing none, looking for a motion to approve item GG for $6,075. Moved by Mr. Kravitz, seconded by Superintendent Danbrook. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Items HH and II. WB Masons.
This is for the bookshelves, bookcases, that are going in, because of the brick facade delay, which delays the windows. We haven't installed them yet, but they've been holding on to these bookshelves for 2 months now. They do have them in stock. I went and looked, they're insured. They want to get paid for them. And the smaller amount is for the desk that went in, that's already been installed in the main office. So, we seek your approval. This is for materials only. They will bill for installation once we get far enough along with the windows, and then they'll put them in. But, they've been patient, but they would like to be paid.
And this was budget, right?
This is part of.
This was part of the original budget. Okay. All right. Any questions for Steve from WB? Okay, hearing none, looking for a motion to approve HH and II for $92,983. Moved by Mr. Kravitz, second by Mr. Lucy. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, new business. Discussion, capital and construction project status updates from Mr. Gothberg and Mr. Iafredi.
Okay, we'll start with Oakland Beach. Oakland Beach is, we've got just a little balancing to do there. Few minor things. The astrals went up on election day. So very, very minor stuff. As soon as I think we're looking at Veterans Day possibly for the final balancing. So we should be wrapped up there very, very soon. The facade work, now with this approval, they've already gone ahead, the approval on the extra work, the change order, they've already gone ahead and ordered the special fasteners and brick ties that were needed. They're made specifically for this project by Hilti, so they're kind of down right this minute. But they look to start again on Monday, and we'll just move ahead. We've been very, very, very lucky with the weather. And long-term weather looks good, so we don't see any winter conditions. We don't see any additional charges at this point. So we keep our fingers crossed, and when they get this, when they get the special fasteners, they've been ordered, they've already gone ahead and charged, they needed to be fixed on the backup bricks, so they're gonna fly. So we're in pretty good shape there. Warwick Neck, the elevator saga continues. I said that we should be done by Thanksgiving, so I'm gonna stick with that. We're just waiting. There's one more test to do with the fire alarm. We're trying to get the right day to do that, where we're not gonna impact the school. They had planned to do it on election day, but Mike and I had told them that all that's gonna do is cause election interference, so we did not do it. So as soon as that's done, I think that's the last step before they can go ahead and call the elevator inspector itself. So I think we're good there. John Green, even though it's not under this purview, I like to keep you guys informed that the vestibule went up yesterday. They are now adjusting the doors this morning. I went over there at 6 to get them going. A couple issues, we're not sure what they are, but hopefully within the next hour that will be done. And then just minor punch list items over there, I believe. Greenwood is pretty good. There's been some adjustments on. What we find is with the DOAS systems, this time of year is extremely difficult. It's warm, it's cold, it's cold, so trying to find the right sweet spot. There's some set points we've been playing with, but other than that, we're in good shape. Everybody seems to be very happy over there. And the bookshelf should be going in there next week or week after.
They threw a few dates out to us.
Yeah, so it's just a matter of how we're gonna get that done, when we're gonna get that done. In Holloman, we believe we're a minimum of a month ahead of schedule.
Yep.
I would say closer to a month and a half, but certainly we're a month ahead. It's going extremely well, organized, moving quickly. Windows will be in just before Christmas, so right after Christmas, they will start those. And given the let's say we already have rooftop equipment on the roof, penetrations happened yesterday. The roofer was there to make sure that penetrations were temporarily covered up, watertight. We started running line sets beginning of this week for the VRFs and the control boxes. So we're in really good shape there. So it's looking good. No kills.
Oh, yeah, the kilns. So, they're back there this evening trying to touch up some loose ends, sealing work, tying the new kilns, and then they're final resting homes. So I expect the kiln rooms to be at point for final inspections towards the end of this week, and then hopefully turned over to the usage for the schools, by the end of next week.
It kills, it's not bonds.
It's not Bonsall.
That's not,
No, but it's been out there.
yeah, that's fine. That goes with the green.
And this is some of the art grant.
Well, we did get, I got a call late last week from Mario Carreno saying you guys, were given a $280,000 for an art grant. So we're gonna look into using the art grant to cover the cost of kiln room renovations and it will still leave about, 120,000 that can be used for other art items, but this will help with our budget.
Partially increase shelves to make sure she didn't have any plans for them.
Yeah, that's and that was my suggestion. That's something to Brandon and the team to look at. Yes.
Restriping in the parking lot.
Yeah, well, it gets done this weekend. They were gonna do it last weekend at Warwick Neck. However, there was supposed to be some type of Halloween or Oktoberfest or something, but it turned out to be Friday, not Saturday, so they canceled it for no reason, so we're gonna do it this Saturday.
Yeah, a question on Holloman. I know you're a month ahead. Are there any, and the windows are due, are there any other projects that involve long lead time items that?
Everything's been ordered, switchgear is coming in March, mid-March. Of course, we won't know that for certain, but there's still enough time there. Okay, even if it's a month delayed, we'll be okay. We're working closely with Rhode Island Energy, and there does not seem to be a question about the transformer at this point in time.
Yeah, I mean, barring lack of God, you can't control that. Hopefully we can stay on.
Everything's planned, and we're in good shape with all the long lead time items.
Good.
Any rooftop units are here. I mean, we had, the only thing that's not here is electrical, but we do have delivery dates for that.
Okay. Any other questions on any of the current projects? Okay. All right, next, discussion, high school project update for left field. Chris, John, Chris, I don't know if you're up to speak for any extended period of time.
Tried to get him beaten up.
Yeah, just stay far away.
I think for this item, we typically just go quickly. So you have, in your packet, the monthly report for the month of October. I'll start on page 2 under, executive summary, under design. So, as of this report, RIDE has approved the Pilgrim schematic design submission, and as we said, the team has proceeded forward with design development and actually just recently completed the 100% design development documents, and they're currently being priced. The tollgate schematic design documents have been provided. They're currently under review. As we said earlier, we had a good meeting with Dr. De Silva at Bride, and we continue to be supportive of the design and the project as a whole. So both teams are moving forward with the DD process. We do continue to meet throughout every week with the end users to fine tune the design. We later we'll touch on the monthly activities and what we've been doing over the last few weeks. Under the environmental section, I think we'll maybe table that until
I just interject?
Please, yeah.
So I missed the first few minutes, but we did have a meeting with Dr. De Silva yesterday specifically to discuss COVID. I think that meeting went very well. Dr. De Silva had a couple ideas for us in terms of potential ways to additionally save a little bit more money on the project, but he was very supportive. He said specifically very supportive of the school committee's unanimous decision to move the project, to keep the project moving forward. So Dr. De Silva did want us to pass along support specifically for that. But I thought the meeting went very well yesterday, and we have another meeting with Dr. De Silva today, specific to Pilgrim, and we're going to be presenting him with some good news from our design development estimating.
Is he gonna have a check, an additional check for us? Maybe 12, 15 million maybe?
Maybe.
Take it.
Maybe not a check.
Reach into the drawer, desk drawer, so.
We'll table the environmental update for agenda item 4, I think.
Yeah.
New business, but project budget. So we went, as everyone knows, to the school committee with an update based on where we were at the end of schematic design. Demio had put together, after a thorough review of all the value management that had been done to date, reported budget overage of $37.8 million of construction costs. That's compared to a $284 million construction budget. So we at this time have not made any changes to the overall project budget of $350 million. We continue to work towards that $284 million construction budget. We still have several months, for about 5 months left of the design phase. We have 3 more rounds of cost estimating to do. So our charge is to continue fine tuning the design and work towards that $284 million. But we did want to bring to the public the fact that we are, as of the end of schematic design, tracking over that budget. So
One thing I'll add to that is, as I've mentioned just recently, the second round of professional third-party cost estimates that come in, I think they're fully reconciled at this point, Joe.
no, not the DD.
We are, as you are aware, we are currently under budget on our soft costs by how much, Joe?
By just over $5 million based on what we have under contract as of today.
So we are trending in the right direction. We are lost to give you specifics right now, but we're looking at a savings of millions of dollars at Pilgrim and billions of dollars in soft costs that have not been included to date in that 30. And this was, we did discuss this at a meeting, a financial meeting with representatives from the town and representatives from the school department and school committee as well. So this is not new news to the town, but it could potentially be new news to the school building committee that in general, the project is trending in the right direction. We're continuing to do everything that John said, of getting us as close to that 284 million as possible. Without cutting scope.
Demio's fee is within the 284.
Demio's fee is within that 284.
How much is that fee approximately?
392, something like that. It's a small percentage.
Yeah.
300,000.
300,000. But it's.
So no, their fee is
For the pre-construction fee.
No, I'm talking about the project fee.
Yes, their general requirements, which they make money on, and their P&L, their profits are all located to that fee and their markets. They're all included.
What's up, is he doing this on a percentage?
It's like 1%. It's not, I don't know the exact number, but it's not higher than 2%. That's for sure.
It's industry standard.
Yeah,
So
as well.
Well, and I think Christian, correct me if I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, tell me. The 37.8 figure that you referenced when that broke, that was a number that you were awaiting that additional estimate, right? We were expecting it to come in on a Friday, it didn't come in until the following week. And that's the estimates that trended down. And there were also other potential changes that you could be made in the design process that would save additional money.
So yes, none of those,
They weren't rolled into that 32nd.
specifically for Tollgate, there are some substantial changes in Steve Graham, I can get into this if you like, but the DD set has not been estimated for Tollgate. As you're aware, Tollgate is a much more difficult site. So the cost for Tollgate is around $60 a square foot higher than the cost for Pilgrim. Pilgrim at $718 a square foot is a very good price, considering that Central Falls High School was bid out at $716 a square foot, and that was hard bid. So general contractor bid at $716 a square foot for a building with no site. So the work that Steve and Jimmy have been doing over the last month is to get as much of the building out of the ground and onto grade or into other areas so that we're not digging into the ground and blowing up ledge and all of the other incredibly costly things. I mean, I believe I remember yesterday, Steve, did you say that the building alone is only 90 million? The rest of that money is the site.
The CHA, yeah, the CHA estimated the building only at 88 million. All the rest of the money was site related. So
That's
we're
substantial.
looking at several ways to save site.
To your point, David, yes, millions of dollars have been identified that we're hoping that we can seek this committee's approval on our next school budget approval.
And we got a tacit approval from RIDE yesterday on one of the changes for the marine trades area that's going to save multiple millions. We will bring that next.
At our next school building committee meeting, we're going to be coming to this group with a number of value management proposals that do not reduce scope. That we'll be asking this committee to review that prior to us including the design development. So it's the potential to reduce our deficit by millions.
Sorry, I'm hearing the project's over budget, but it's not. We're gonna save millions and millions of dollars.
No,
I guess I'm hearing you talk, Chris, and this is what I'm hearing. So my thing is, I'm on this board to approve work that's being done. If this project is going over budget, I think I want to let the school committee take the lead, put more money into it, and then I'll continue to review and support the project. Does that make sense from my perspective?
Yeah, but I think right now, I think what he said is that we don't have what that final number is yet, right? So whether that is.
Might not have enough, we might have enough.
We won't know until the design is done, but.
Right,
So I
so
wasn't saying we're gonna be under budget. I was saying that we're gonna reduce that 37. Does that make more
right,
sense?
so,
Yeah.
yeah, no, that 37
We're
also.
not gonna be under budget.
Yeah,
Yeah,
was a max.
Yeah, the 37, again, the 37, now, again, that, from that 37, the contingency's in there too, right? Right?
there's 17
All
million.
right, so 37, I mean, it's a very rough back of the envelope for 37, then you got 17 contingency, now it's 20, right? So if you've got, I don't know, savings with program, and I hate to say program changes, because I think the more accurate term is program space changes. Because, you know, if you had a space for a program that exists now, and I'm gonna use the chorus because I think it's a good example. So right now, chorus practice is in the auditorium, so the new design has a chorus room. So if for whatever reason the chorus room wasn't there, you still have chorus. You just don't have a chorus room, right? So I think that gets to be a little bit of a misconception in the public that, oh my God, I'm not gonna have band anymore. Well, of course you're gonna have band. So I'm not saying that I support a chorus room deletion at all, but so that's the point. And I think.
I feel like we're playing catch up. There was asserted, there was a meeting with city officials and everyone's on board and understanding of these changes, and I'm just learning about it through this board now, as a member sitting on this board. So
Yeah, well,
I just want to know where I sit in this command and control.
Yeah, so that, well, you guys have meetings with the city without the building committee there. That's part of your standard procedure is to meet with city and city finance, right? So
And then come to report.
Yeah, and then they
committee on
report,
what we did.
report
And, you
to
know,
us.
and when we look at these things, they're snapshots in time. Okay, so end of SD, we had a snapshot in time that looked like, you know, one week previous, we were at, say, we looked like we were 17 million short, okay? The next week, there was review done and some things came up and said, no, we double counted this, we double counted this. It looks like we're here at the 37.8. So at that point, we need to say, one of the problems that we have to be careful of is transparency. So if we need to be transparent, we bring it to administration. Administration, the school committee says we might need to bring it somewhere else. We do that, and then at our next regular meeting, we bring it here. So that's what we have to do. But in that time, since we reported that at that point in time, it looked like we were 37.8. We have identified ways to bring that 37.8 down to an undetermined amount at this point. But it will be much better. We don't know exactly what it is yet because we don't have those estimates. But we can talk among ourselves and say, we think it will be this. But it's a think, not an estimate. So we're hesitant to bring exact numbers forward. So when we have those exact numbers, we will bring it forward. But meanwhile, we continue to move forward with the project because the goal is to get as close as the 284 construction costs, 350 in total as possible.
And to finish it through to the end now. I agree, you gotta keep it going, but at some point, we're gonna know
Right.
what
Yeah,
we
at some
don't
point.
have.
Yeah.
At some point,
Mhm.
then we're gonna go to somebody else, not this board, to inject more money into the process.
No, it's.
Well,
That's
but
my-
this board is gonna make a vote whether to pursue or not.
As a recommendation.
Yeah, it's a recommendation. The school committee will be the governing body in respect to this to say, yeah, we're going to formally petition the city for
Sure.
whatever, once we know what that final number is, but the building committee needs to weigh in on that, right?
At
Because
some
there's more expertise on this.
When
committee than
we
there is.
know.
No, you're right with it.
Exactly.
You're right with it. Go ahead.
Yeah, I can't look at this report and there's numbers in here. And I'm not gonna tie to the fact that supporting these increases, I guess, is what. We don't know the numbers yet.
We don't know
Right.
the numbers yet. That's a
Right.
snapshot in time. And when we see a problem, we react to it, we address it. And the key is not to take scope out of the building. So it's to be, we need to pivot, we need to be creative.
Yeah.
We need to keep program in the building because we cannot take out any more square footage. We can't take out program, we can't take out athletics. But we have to be creative as possible, give the community at least the base of what they approve.
Hold on a
Maybe we
second.
can clarify what we say when we mean increases. It's not an increase in scope that's occurred over the evolution of the design. We have added a program. The increase, if you call it increase, is a market-driven number. Want to clarify that.
I think the only difference between the stage 2 application and what we currently have designed, which we shared in a public meeting, was the basketball courts. There's no longer outdoor basketball courts in our current design. That was in the stage 2.
And-
Steve, can you help me out with this?
One less practice.
Instead of 2 practice fields, 1 practice field. And instead of new tennis courts, refurbishing the existing tennis courts that are in reasonable shape. At Tollgate, there's been this fear that it's falling off the cliff. Yesterday, we did borings there to verify or not whether we can redo those tennis courts. But the purpose is to save millions of dollars. So it's things like that we're doing, not taking out scope a little bit in the field area, but we can't take it out of the educational building. It just doesn't work. So, you know, Ms. Glory has to be able to run her classes and fit her people in the building, so we cannot take any more square footage out of these buildings.
Yeah, so one project is the Gilbert, 100% DD, right? Colgate's at 30. So when do we think we'll be at that point where we know what these numbers are gonna be?
We'll have a better estimate on December 6th at the completion of the design development documents.
Okay.
Even then, we have technically 2 more rounds of estimating as the drawings get further fine-tuned and CDs. But we'll have a much better idea of where we stand. when we get that set of documents, which will capture all of the value management that we've been working on over the last several.
Because
years.
we don't wanna falsely state a lower number because we haven't had all of these value management ideas fully vetted yet.
Right.
So I can't just say to you, I think we're gonna lose $5 million by moving this. But
I understand.
I'm sorry, I need to strike that and correction. The issuance of the pricing set will be, it's going to entail another few weeks of cost estimating and then a reconciliation between both Demio and the designer's estimator, which we will have in hand. And I don't have a firm date, but it's going to be the beginning of January.
So that's when we're gonna be on the spot probably.
Yeah, so then at that point,
Much better.
we'll say,
idea
look,
what
this is what we, this, to stick to the 350 max, this is what will not be in it.
Yep.
Essentially, right? I mean, you know, maybe we'll simplifying it, but so in other words, if you come to January and you say, look, here's 350, but there are no athletic fields. Then this body says, yeah, we go forward, or say, no, we don't think that's a good idea. So, right, so, but we'll have all that information. So I don't expect it to be that draconian.
Appreciate
And I
the
say that as
conversation.
I say that as a food service person. I'm not a builder. But Mr. Holmes, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I'm concerned, like Mr. Kravitz is, that we as the building committee even went as far as to establish a subcommittee so that we would be part of this, all these meetings that have taken place and all these discussions. I think we're getting tossed in the middle of all the crap too. But we're not aware of it. I was kind of very concerned when I found out almost a week later that we're 37 million
Yeah, I was like 2
in
weeks
the
out.
hole. As a member of this committee, we should have been the first ones to know that, in my opinion. Or at least the subcommittee of this committee should be part of it. They should be part of every meeting that is transpired by our OPM. I'm concerned that the lines of communication are not what it should be. And I'm not throwing stones at anybody,
No,
but
Well,
why did we establish a subcommittee?
The
I
change
thought-
room, the change room.
No, I didn't think that was all of it.
well, no,
But,
ostensibly
you
it
know,
was.
everybody's
once you-
meeting with everybody, except us.
No, but we had a conversation here and it's helpful to me. It helps.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
yeah,
The
but
other thing is.
if you actually started building, these things, that's how we envision the subcommittee would really prove its worth, because you'd be going into those meetings, if, you know, the components of the project. I have no problem. We can discuss that. We can have subcommittees. You want to go to rides with meetings? I mean, that's fine.
I'm not saying I want to, but somebody
but-
should at least be offered the opportunity so that we,
Mr. Gomberg is in almost every single, I mean.
I know that.
Report, you can see just a list of, this isn't even all of them, but a list of, this is probably 40 hours worth of meetings right here. Just on meetings.
So, you
There's a
know,
lot of work there's a lot of work that gets done every single day.
Yeah, no,
The
that's
conversation
I'm not
that's
saying
happened here
that.
today is helpful, and I think it's good.
right,
That's all I need.
But the thing is, we bring it to the meeting. If we're bringing something to the school committee, then this body is welcome to go to the school committee, and then everybody hears everything at once. But we have to we run into an issue as the director of capital improvements and construction, I must go to administration, and administration then then it goes to the city, because that's what needed to happen. Then it went to school committee. This body, to me, should be watching the school committee, because that's where information comes out also. So,
yeah, but I think to Mr. Holmes' point, and I agree with it, the 37.8 number came, well, 2 weeks after our last meeting.
right.
And then, you know, that hit the fan. We weren't meeting until today. So, you know, we're kind of caught in between. I suppose, you know what, I probably should have called an emergency meeting just to say, look, here's what it is, and it's coming out, right? But,
Yeah.
you know, I learned about it that you were about it. So, yeah, there's absolutely room for improvement there. I'll
So, I mean, to me,
Absolutely.
that's an internal process, how you guys want to handle this, how the committee wants to handle it. And then give direction to myself, and we will direct left field to attend whatever meeting you want.
Again, I wasn't trying to throw stones. I just said
No, it wasn't
But
taken
I'm
away.
just
I
trying
don't
to explain.
lines of communication need to be a little bit better,
Mhm.
in my opinion. as a member of the committee.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of, all the VE that's taken place has really been with discussion with administration, because that's, well, the constructability, if you're gonna lower the ceiling heights and things like that, but if you're gonna start to get into the meat of the stuff, like programming spaces, I don't think it's the building committee should take recommendations from the administration. We think this is a good idea, this is a bad idea.
Exactly.
Then we, because, none of us, well, superintendent and Mr. McCaffrey and Candace is an educator, but, we're not. So, for me to sit there and think, all right, just cut that. It has to be the recommendation. So it's got to be a flow, right?
Symbiotic thing, yeah.
Yeah.
With the advisory.
Agreed.
It's, if I may, it's a little challenging on your part because this is not, say, an ad hoc committee assembled specifically for the purpose of the high school projects. Your purview is over the entirety of the district and all its projects. So you're sort of pivoting adjusting as you go. I mean, not to say that, so it's kind of an evolving process, right? So,
Just, from my perspective, if the committee wants that information, then I think a process should be set up that Mr. Testa, as the chairman, would call a special meeting if required. Okay, and the committee would have to determine that criteria for those.
You know what I'm wondering? I'm wondering if we could, based on, you guys have meetings at RIDE, if you guys just create a summary of what the meeting was about. I'm wondering, I'll talk to Andrew, wondering if you can communicate the summary out to the members of the committee. Right?
Well, I mean,
I'm wondering. Well, but I don't know, because if you send something out, I mean, you can do that, as long as nobody replies, then you don't have a meeting, right?
Right.
So we could do that, right? So that's, right, Bill, that's,
I think so.
You have applies, you have discussion on applies.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So we would trust everyone here just to, you take it and so, that could be helpful. Instead of calling a special meeting every, after a couple of meetings with RIDE, have a special meeting, because it's gonna be tough to get everybody here.
Yeah.
So, but being updated as to what's discussed.
You just put it in the packet, no? You put summaries in the packet, can't you?
Right.
Yeah, we could, well, we would put it back for the regular meeting. I'm just saying if we leave today, if there's a meeting with RIDE on Friday.
Yeah,
And
it might be
talk
two,
about
maybe
something.
3 summaries for the next meeting.
Yeah,
I'm
you
fine
could
with
do
that.
that too. I mean, that's fine. I'll just talk to Andrew to see. I think we can
The
communicate
other thing
that
we
now.
can do is if a situation comes up like we had with the 37.8 information that came out at that snapshot of time, we give it to Mr. Testa as chairman. Mr. Testa at that point would determine, does it go out to the rest of the committee or can it wait? And I don't know how you would handle that.
Yeah, well, something like that, but had time called a special meeting. It's already out. Okay. But I mean, I wouldn't expect any more surprises like that.
I sure hope not.
Hopefully it'll all be good after that.
So,
This is why we should have done this on the competitive sealed bidding, so like they did in Central Falls. Construction management, no risk. That's what we decided to do. And the reason I say no risk, we're not gonna get Dimeo to put up a bond for 284 million and say, with this scope, you're gonna do this job. They have escape hatches everywhere, okay? They base on what the subcontract prices are gonna be, and if it's over, we pay for it. So there is no risk. This is ridiculous what we're doing.
even though it's construction manager at risk is more just like a term. That's all it is.
Exactly. It was done 20 years ago when they wanted to legalize it and get away from competitive sealed bidding. It kind of made it look like, well, you're at risk, but there really is no risk. There's definitely, am I right, Chris?
So.
Disagree.
Right?
So the idea is to get a decided GMP as early as possible.
Yeah, but the GMP has all the escape. The GMP is based on 100 different subsets of numbers for certain scopes of work, which if they are exceeded, the owner pays. So there is no.
No, the owner doesn't, once you sign a guaranteed maximum price, as long as I'm not adding in or refining existing conditions, or I'm not adding in scope, the documents that they signed a GMP for, if there's no change to the documents, but the price is over, that risk is on. Now, do they carry other allowances sometimes in numbers that they can shift money in to cover it? Yes, that's how they mitigate the risk. But bottom line is, and I enforced this on a different project in a different city in Rhode Island, when they tried to come back to me with an additional $275,000, I specifically said, this is risk, and they ate it. They ate that $275,000. Having said that, if we talk about Central Falls High School, they got 1 minute.
Yeah.
And to beg one bidder to come down here. For the general contractors that can handle a project, let alone two projects.
Right.
Of a $240 million construction of the bonding capacity. They're not here in Rhode Island. They don't come down. And the thing, other problem about Central Falls is, and this is where their issue was, is they came in at $715 a square foot. Their budget was closer to $670 a square foot.
Yeah.
So they had to, on the back end of that, go out and get bond premiums and have the legislature change the amendment on the back end of that project.
Right.
So they had no recourse at that point except to either cut drafting scope off the building, because there's no gain in it for the general contractor to value manage the project, right? They're making their fees internally, so there's no gain for the general contractor to do that. They had to, and in Central Falls, they get 97% reimbursement,
Right.
and the state they only had to bond $8 million, I think, at that project, right? Where Warwick has to bond the whole thing. It's a much different situation.
The other thing we're forgetting is forgetting the time constraints. We were up against signing a contractor by a certain date. Otherwise, we're gonna lose reimbursement. That was really the mitigating factor. If we
agree.
look back,
I agree.
we felt pressured, and the possibility of losing 20% reimbursement was really the deciding factor.
And I'll say this too, we met with Dr. DeSilva yesterday. Dr. DeSilva, of course, is aware of all the news and everything else. Like, I don't think anybody in the state is. Generally, Dr. DeSilva pushes back and says, why didn't you do it this way? Why don't you do it this way? He did not mention project delivery once in that whole conversation, because the number that we have, $712 a square foot, is a good number for this construction.
It's a false number. There's no way you're gonna do it for $712 a square foot. You're gonna be between $800 and $900 a square foot when this is all said and done. The problem is, we're never gonna know that until the end. Vice Chair Hazelwood said on the October 23rd meeting, we're not cutting anymore. So here's your scope and here's your budget. Unless you reduce the scope to meet the budget or increase the budget to meet the scope, this project's dead. You can't do it. Can't do it as presented.
Well, to that, Armin, I just say one, with the Marine Trades Program was a perfect example, right? If we want to take what the vice chair said literally,
Right.
okay, the plan for Marine Trades is its own building instead of putting it in the basement and tollgate with the rock. So you guys said that's anywhere from $5 to $7 million, right? So is that a cut in scope? I don't believe it's a cut in scope. It's a cut in what the design was.
Right.
So I think, with all due respect to some of my colleagues, I'm not quite sure if they know exactly what is in the designs that were presented in the August, in the August forum. So the August forum, that's the basis upon which we're going off.
So that's the scope.
That's,
now what
yeah,
was in August.
now, that August had Marine Trades in tollgate. Right, so things change, right? So if Marine Trades gets its own freestanding space, that's $5 to $7 million cheaper. Okay, makes sense. I would say that makes, and RIDE approves it. That makes perfect sense to me, right? So you still, the program has its own space, better space, right? We've dedicated space, better dedicated space. So, okay, so, but then you're able to, now you say 350, now you're 345 or whatever the hell it is, right? So those are the things that we have to keep working on, right? And I think we will reach a point where we're going to say, you know what, there's nothing else here, unless you want to start eliminating chorus rooms, eliminating, pick one, eliminating a practice field and stuff like that. Okay, so then, okay, we're 350, but now you don't have this. So then this committee would say, that's the recommendation we're going to send up to the school committee, or that's not. Or we think that it should include this, and that here's what that would cost. Then the school committee would decide, we're gonna go forward and ask the city for extra money, or no, we're not, right?
To that point, I just wanted to, and I just thought of this, but I want to bring it home for myself. You go to the first 4 items on the agenda that we approved today. One of the options that Steve gave was you could take of that 56 billion and put it towards the high schools. See, to me, I want to wait and see where we are in January before I start throwing money at it from other.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? That's why I didn't want to support that. That's
Yeah,
why.
no, I agree. I think it's prudent to offer that,
That's
right?
fine.
But I mean, I wouldn't expect anyone to say, yeah, let's just do it, because it makes,
Okay.
you can't rob Peter to pay Paul, which is what you're doing in the case.
I
like
might
that.
do it in January when we really know what we're faced
Yeah.
with. You know what I mean?
Yeah, just, and so once we have a good idea what that final number is,
Maybe
and
not.
at some point, it's gonna be Fisher Cup bait, right? At some point, it's Fisher Cup bait. Here's the number.
Yeah.
And this is what will be, this is what the contents of the buildings would be in that number. And then the building committee will make a recommendation, go forward, right? If it's the 350, not a penny more, like I said 100 times, right?
Yeah.
Well, maybe not 100.
Yeah, but you know, and I say that, and I say, okay, if it's 350 and then you don't have lights on a football field, I don't want another tollgate situation where you build a school and you don't have an auditorium. Right? I don't, that would be the ultimate in ridiculousness to have that. So, you know, it's gotta be the best, you know, and I've said before, and it might be flippant, but you know, if at the end of the day, this thing comes in at 360 and we've got everything in it that we wanted, I'd stand in the center of the public square and say, you know, I think we did a pretty good job. Total. You know, you've come in 8-10 million over. I'm sorry. In this environment, someone's gonna say, well, you guys don't know what you're doing. I'll argue that all day long.
And my comment on that is, what is your alternative?
Correct.
What is your,
Well, that's the other thing.
And I'm gonna say that from someone who lives in that building on the daily. And you really have no comprehension of what it's like to keep a building together with duct tape and chewing gum. And to have, floods and fires because of, but like,
Yeah.
There is, in my opinion, as a building, there is no alternative.
Yeah, and I mentioned at the October forums, you know, Chris has said all along that hard decisions, hard conversations will be coming. And, you know, up until now, we haven't really had those hard conversations. Now they're coming. Between November, December, January, they're here. And then at some point, like I said,
Have them
Fisher-
before I throw money at it. That's all.
exactly. And I'm not looking to take money from, you know, this bond, let's put it there so we can get that's not prudent to me. That doesn't make sense to me. So, okay. I like this conversation. This is the stuff we have to have.
Appreciate it.
You know, anybody else have anything for Mr. Bates or Mr. Spiegel? There's no action here. This is just an update.
Well,
Wait.
most of it.
Well, what else do you have?
Yeah.
Anything else to add in your report?
I do want to just touch on the schedule if I could
Yeah.
quickly. So, we really, in addition to nailing down the budget, we have to nail down the schedule. We've had several meetings over the last week with Demio and the architects to try to establish the submission deadlines for not just the construction documents, but also early packages. It will be a challenge, as we know, there was a significant redesign on the part of the tollgate team. So we're just taking a hard look at the design deliverables while still trying to maintain that March 2025 construction start date. I think by next meeting, we'll have a revised version of Demio schedules that show more dated, more real construction, design deliverables. But again, we don't anticipate them as of right now having a dramatic impact on the construction timeline, but there probably will be some shifting in the design deliverables. I just want to make you aware, so we can have a more informed discussion next month.
And it's not out of the realm of possibility if there's a slight delay that you can get an extension from RIDE. Right? I'm not talking a year and a half delay. I'm talking, you know, a month delay, okay, and you're gonna finish a month later than.
we've already been told offline that that's possible. So
That would make no sense.
One more thing, Dave.
Yep.
So when Demio agrees to a GMP, are they going to, we won't put a shovel in the ground until we have a GMP signed with Demio?
No, so we have to move forward in terms of early release. But we have to move forward with early release packages in order to make sure that the project comes in on time. Specifically because every month of escalation, as you are aware, makes the project cost more money. So certain early release packages, we will have to come before the school building committee and the school committee for things like site work, a generator, early release mechanicals like HVAC units, things like that. Those will be built into the GMP, those numbers, but we'll have to get them before all of the trade costs are signed into a GMP because that keeps the project on schedule. So I have to come to you, and sit before this, say, this is a recommendation to award for $1.2 million for a generator for the building. Do we seek your approval that will be included in the GMP?
Which would in
So we're
itself
gonna
be
do that before we know if we're gonna do the project. We're gonna buy these things before we know what the GMP is and what the total cost is going to be.
Well, we're months away from that. We need to get the DD pricing set first, and that's when you're gonna have a much better idea of whether what the ask, if there is an ask of the city, and most likely be an ask.
Why can't we get Dimeo to sign a GMP prior to releasing all these?
Because they're gonna, so to be completely honest with you.
Yeah.
If Dimeo's not gonna sign it, and I discussed this with my team internally, we said, if they're saying 37.5 is the max, let's get decide the GMP right now. Say 37.5 is the max, and let's work our way down. You as the owner are gonna be paying more than you need to, because they're gonna be carrying assumptions and unit costs in their work to cover their butt, because the drawings are still not approved design development documents yet. So there's a lot of assumptions within those documents, not all the finishes have been picked out. There's existing conditions that we're still documenting with TV bond, environmental conditions and things like that. If we were to have to decide it right now, they would have to carry money for assumptions for those, and that's not necessarily money that we get to see back. It should be the same thing as in a hard bid contract.
Yeah.
If you had unsuitable soils that weren't documented and somebody bid it, they would either carry numbers within there to cover their butt, right? But they're a G city, or they change on the back end.
Well, the design should delineate what's hazardous and what isn't, and mean that,
Yeah.
you know, so.
And well, all of the assumptions should be completely worked out of the drawings, and that's the main point of having Dimeo on so early, is that they can tell us, this is cheaper than that. Why are you specifying that product with product?
So when do we get Dimeo into a construction contract instead of a pre-construction where he is now? At what point does that have to be made?
Well, you can do preliminary GMPs and amendments to GMPs throughout the process. Generally, the earliest you see GMP signed is at the end of the design development phase, because then you've maxed out all of your assumptions and things like that, and you're moving through construction documents.
Sounds like it's a bit of a dance, right?
Yeah, it's a gamble. Yeah.
It's a calculated risk, just like a hard bid would be a calculated risk. I can tell you right now that if I proceeded with this design without that design that it was originally designed, without a construction manager on board, we would have bid this project out and it would have been $70 to $80 million. And then where would we have been at that? We would have had to completely stop, could forfeit reimbursements. We would have to do holistic cuts to the design. And you know, from your business as well, when you ask people to ask a general contractor to take something out of the design, they're giving you pennies on the dollar, right? Their credits are never as much as it's actually worth. They might charge you $1 million to install a window, but if you take that window out of the design, they're gonna say, oh, it was only really $200,000. We're not gonna give you another $800,000.
The credit book is the thinnest book in the library.
Right, that is so like,
That's any business.
it's all, and I think everyone at the table understands, it's all, we're trying to manage, take as much risk off of the owner as put it on other people as possible. That's the whole point of what we're doing and why this design process is taking so long. Well, Steve Guerrero or Sean Bates, or even you, I mean, if anybody has any other thoughts on it, I'd love to discuss it. I just would like to feel that.
Anyone else for Chris or John? Okay. Okay, next item is an action, a discussion action with Allen Energy Low EUI incentive cost sharing agreement.
You might recall months ago, we had approved to proceed with the low energy use intensity rebate incentive program through Island Energy. What's before the committee now is an agreement that they will participate in the cost sharing of the design services that are needed. They're going to do an energy model on both projects.
Good.
Oh, sorry.
No, good.
They're going to, so part of this program, they're required to hire a third-party energy modeler for both projects to verify the energy use, projected energy use intensity of both projects. So the total fee for that energy modeler is $22,305, of which roughly 25%, we can't 100% confirm today, but roughly 25% typically is what the owner would pay per project to participate in the program and to support the engineering efforts. That was roughly $5,500 per project. So all this agreement is saying is that the owner will agree to pay that share of the engineering services at the end of the project, right? And it will come out of the rebate.
I have one question, John.
Yeah.
On the sheets, they have Pilgrim says square feet covered by this application, 241,000, and Tollgate, 209,908.
Which is old information.
Okay, so but that,
It won't impact the fee and
Okay. That was my
they're gonna base their actual energy modeling on the design documents as they're given.
Okay. All right, so it's not gonna have a material impact on it.
John, is that a requirement from Rhode Island Energy model? Because we own an energy model with our MEP.
The requirement is that they hire their own.
They have to do a separate one?
Independent, yeah, so third party energy model.
Any other questions for John on that one? All right, looking for a motion to approve Rhode Island Energy low EUI incentive cost sharing agreements. Moved by Mr. Kravitz. Second? I'll second. Any other conversation? Okay, hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, next, number 4, Teague and Bond Phase 1 Environmental Site Assessment.
I'll start this, we already touched on it, but I'll start it by saying that you have in your packages, the summary, the draft summaries of their ESA environmental site assessment, Phase 1. I know there's questions on it, but what they've told us is that there's enough findings to warrant further investigation. They are working right now on a plan and for the locations for proposed testing sites for illicit testing. So we'll have that at the next meeting, and we'll also have a proposal for what that's going to cost. Some good news is the RFP had a very conservative, carried a very conservative quantity of testing locations, which we won't need based on their findings. So we'll save a little money there, hopefully, when we get the final proposal. But I'll just start with that. I know that there were comments and questions about the
So I have a question just on, the section 8 findings for Tollgate, paragraph 4. They're talking about the work area career tech center annex at Drum Rock, which is right, because Drum Rock is an annex to the career center. But then in the paragraph, they're talking about floor drains and laboratories and auto shops. There are no auto shops at the Drum Rock building. So are they getting the both buildings confused? The auto shops are in the work career tech center, but not the annex at Drum Rock. But they're referring it to the Drum Rock building. So you might want to touch base.
It's just throughout the buildings, not just that building, throughout the buildings.
Yeah, and there are some Tollgate High School in the, well, yeah, I get what Steve's coming from there.
Yeah,
The language is a little unclear.
yeah. Are they evaluating the annex at Drum Rock or the Roar Career Tech Center? Or both?
From my reading, it will confirm, but my reading of this, it sounds like both. They're just combining it because it's a similar.
Steve, what were you on?
They're only talking about one building though.
Section,
Paragraph 4, section 8.
section 8 findings.
Because it says Tollgate High School and the Warwick Area Career Tech Center Annex at Drum Rock. They don't mention the Warwick Career Tech Center building in that paragraph. And that's actually where the shops and the floor drains are.
So we can confirm what the language is meant to indicate, but we did do a walkthrough of all the buildings in person, right? So, it's not to say that they're basing it on a misinterpretation of the drawings, because they literally walked the space and took photos. So my inclination is to say it's meant to be a wording, generally speaking, but we'll confirm, and ultimately what we want to know is, are they misinformed to the point that it's going to lead to unnecessary testing? So we'll prevent that if that's the case. Right? I think it's a good question. Well, then we'll ask it.
Yeah, because Drum Rock building's coming down where the annex, the Warwick Career Tech Center is staying.
Right.
And you said, John, we had a budget for this already, right? We used part of it for
For phase one.
phase 1, right? We we're about 75% through
Through
that,
phase one.
so, through phase one. So there should be some residual money in that line item, so.
No, it's still being developed.
What struck me here is all the work that was done in the past, it's just no documentation, nobody knows when it was done, who did it. It's just-
And well, the one thing I want to bring up on this page, one, number 5, if they come across a plan, it doesn't appear that they have, but if they do, to do the test pits where those tanks are presumably were located.
Yeah, we absolutely will have to.
We just saw a plan where they were listed as removed in 86, then they weren't removed.
Uh-huh.
So, Mr. Kraft, we'd like to liaise, the school building committee has no objections. I think we'd like to liaise with you directly for a lot of this, as you probably have a lot more historical information. You know how records are, we've already proposed.
Yeah, I mean, that's, you don't need our tools for that.
And they looked at the,
Well, it says there's no grease trap observed in the kitchen. Is there no grease trap in the culinary program?
There's a great job.
Okay, so maybe that's an old area that was a kitchen. It says, does not appear to be a filter or treatment system associated with the laboratory sink, marine trade, shop sink, and no grease trap was observed in the kitchen. So.
I believe there's another.
Is that-
There's gonna be one outside, right? I think
Yeah.
underground the floor inside.
Okay.
Yeah, and as far as the camera rooms, it's all under sync stuff, so. So they showed them to those guys.
Yeah, just that was the one that really stuck out. So if we can just make sure that everybody was.
the other thing I thought I saw in here, and now I can't find it. There was a reference to, land and water conservation fund area, I think.
Oh, sure, that was on,
The probate,
I saw that too.
Now, both school sites have those areas. So my suggestion would be that somebody needs to interface with DEM that operates that program. Because the DEM is gonna require that you relocate and replace the equivalent value of what that federal investment was in the late 70s with what you're doing now. And the woman's name is Megan Dupree at DEM. Someone just needs to talk to her sooner rather than later.
We've got a meeting with her. Well, something else.
That's perfect. That she's in charge of the land and water conservation fund properties. You're gonna want to definitely not let that become a hurdle for you.
You imagine. Any other questions for left field on the Teagan Bond Phase 1? Okay, hearing the looking for a motion to approve the Phase 1 environmental site assessment report. Moved by Mr. Kravitz, second by Mr. Lucy. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. I want to just jump to the bottom. I think number 5 is going to be a little conversation. So can we go to 6? Discussion action Pilgrim Stage 3 ride design development submission for left field.
So this is just following the ride prescriptive process. At the completion of every design phase, we need to submit to them a review package.
Yeah.
As we've said a few times during the meeting, the Pilgrim team has completed the design development phase package and we're ready to submit. So we're asking the committee for approval to submit that package for review.
Any questions for left field on that? Move approval, Mr. Kravitz moved approval of agenda item 6, stage 3 ride design development submission. Seconded by Mrs. Gallery. Any other questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, number 5, discussion action, high school PLA negotiation for left field.
So I'll just start by saying that the committee, I think 2 meeting cycles ago, had approved the study. Attorney Conley was here to speak to it. They approved the study. This would be an approval of their ad services in their proposal to pursue the development of the project labor agreement. So that would be what's on the table for approval, but
What are we approving?
yeah, start negotiating.
start the negotiations for the project labor agreement.
I'm opposed to that. And we would, but this body would vote on the final document, negotiated deal. We're just approving to start the
To commence with Yeah, the development of,
Discussion,
of the discussions.
Okay, so it doesn't commit us to anything.
Right,
It
as of
commits
right
us to
now-
decide on what the final
Right.
thing looks like.
They
That's
did the study,
commitment.
but as of right now, they've taken no action to actually
Right,
start establishing terms and conditions of the agreement. And so they're just waiting for approval to proceed with that next step. And then whatever they draft would come before the committee.
Well, I have another suggestion regarding the project labor agreement. I have an idea to call it an owner's project labor agreement, where you have the owner, Woke School Department, and prime contractor Demio have an agreement. And the agreement basically says that if there are any scopes of work that conflict with any signatory agreements of the prime contractor, namely carpentry and labor work, that those bid packages would be held by the school district in order to circumvent Demio's signatory agreements with the carpenter and the laborer. So you would have a wide open shop bid for all the scopes of work. And it wouldn't matter whether it's carpentry, whether it's flooring, whether it's ceiling tile, whether it's doors, whether it's curtains. So that's what I would like.
Can you work that language into the PLA?
No, because the PLA is with the building trades, and the building trade should not be involved in an agreement to inject 100% union into this job. The architect has said it's 5 to 10% more money. I think that may be a little high, like I said on October 23rd. So we can save 10 or $15 million without a PLA, and then the job goes 80 to 85% union, maybe 100%. You don't know. Why would we ever entertain a PLA if we're $40 million over budget? I don't understand that.
this is areas that this isn't my bailiwick, so.
What's the risk of the proposal?
No,
that you're-
then we
Is there a
run
legal
into-
challenge for that?
we run into the risk that we discussed previously, so. We open ourselves up to project delays because of work stoppage.
That's Demio's problem. If there were strikes, if there were
No, but
issues,
it's-
he's under a
it's our
GMP, he's
problem.
gotta do it. No, it's not our problem, though.
Yes, it'll delay. It could delay,
It could.
which is
I
the worst
think-
thing. Worse than the money.
I'm not a voting member, so.
Yeah, no, your opinion, doesn't matter. in this one. So.
And our opinion may not matter as a committee.
Well,
The school
yeah.
committee. they
So
can
I
decide.
I don't know, I mean, would,
You have to make a recommendation, so.
yeah, no, I know, so is it? If I understood what you said, you said a lot, so the goal that you would be looking to achieve, you're saying couldn't be negotiated with a traditional negotiating process for a period.
Correct.
So, but, do you think that would get legally challenged like, right away?
Yeah.
If you're trying to plow new ground in terms of,
Absolutely.
in terms of that, that's, that'd be my concern. And if that happens, now you got a legal delay for, I don't know.
And
I think
if I may ask a question.
Mhm.
What liability would that setup have on the, what liability would that put directly on the owner as opposed to going through construction manager if your contracts are directly with the owner? So now you're out.
It's a novel idea. It hasn't been done before.
Well, no, I see some
Yeah.
logistical issues with that.
Yeah.
Who is running them, who is handling them now? Basically, you have an owner run, the owner's the contractor at that point in time.
Correct.
So how does that work? Now you have liability issues, now you have payment, performance bond issues, now you have,
No, you just bond Demio. You don't worry about the subs being bonded with you at Demio.
Is that something?
The other thing
That's
about
something
bonding
we
is,
wanna do.
we talked about waiving Demio's bond and saving
Right, but
200,000
now-
or 300,000
the
and
Demio-
bond all the subs,
right,
which I've done, this has been done before.
Right. Now you're putting some onus on the owner, which is, I don't think what the district wants.
Yeah, I mean, I could see doing two things at the same time here. I could see Because again, if this agenda doesn't get approved, you're starting to negotiations, right? And again, this body has to ultimately decide if we're gonna accept that or not. But could also explore what I would go to our attorney and say, this is what, and have him say, yeah, this is something that worked, or this is something that couldn't work.
Is the lawyer for your school committees, Andrew? Pennius? Pennius?
Yeah, he doesn't do PLA. That's not his. Yeah, that's not him. So, I mean, is it worth exploring? Okay, we can explore it, but I wouldn't want us to say, well, let's just go that road and not this road, because if that's a dead end, right,
They're
so
another
now
month
we done,
behind.
right?
Yeah, I don't wanna hold up negotiations.
No, so I hear what I'm saying, so I would,
Look, they're not gonna, the agreement's gonna be the agreement. The agreement's what we looked at back in October. I handed out a simple agreement.
Not necessarily. There'll be changes.
yeah,
There'll be some boilerplate language.
yeah, but,
Well, I mean,
From
that's where
others.
your expertise
Yeah,
would come in as far as talking, negotiating. I mean, that's what we're looking to do, I believe, is negotiate PLA in the best interest of the district. Not a boilerplate.
especially in terms of the trades that are problematic, right? But there just may not be enough people, and you had mentioned those before, right? So again, it's trying to carve out the best deal you can for yourself, and I would hope that, the trades don't view a PLA as a PLA as a PLA, they're all the same. It can't all be
PLAs
the same.
cost a lot of money. That's why I'm opposed to it.
Yeah.
It's,
Not with prevailing rate.
yeah, Billy.
I totally agree. We can't afford another month to just sit on it. I would respectfully make a motion that we start the negotiations, because we, the building committee, will still have the final say. So we'll have one more bite at the apple, if you will. So I would make a motion to start the negotiations to get a document, hopefully, by next month. Because from what I'm hearing, getting ready for bids is getting pretty darn close. And those bids are gonna have to either include a PLA or not. So, we can't keep bumping month after month after month. We gotta give
The
off
other thing is that this would be, to me, a prime example of what the subcommittee could do for review of the PLA before the, bring it to the full committee. And you could bring in advisors, you could bring in Mr. Holmes as advisor, you're already on the committee, you could bring people to it. And so, I mean, this way you get to look at it as it goes, and it's not something that's a done deal when it comes to the committee. You guys can look at it and decide what you want to do.
PLAs are virtually identical. I mean, they're always the same. They always have the 17 building, in this case, it's 15 building trades. It's interesting that the building trades of the PLA proposed, in the example I handed out on October 2nd was, it eliminated the Teamster and the operating engineer. So you're down to 15 trades. Do you know why the Teamster and the operating engineer aren't part of that?
I can only refer to somebody that's more current than I am, but from what I understand, neither of those two trades participate in the Rhode Island building trades anymore.
Okay.
That might be the only reason. I don't know.
All right, so there's a motion by Mr. Holmes.
I'll second.
Seconded by Mr. Kravitz. Any other conversation about that? I know Mr. Lucy stands.
So we're just voting to move the negotiations forward.
To start negotiation, yeah. Okay, all right, so there's no other conversation? All in favor? Aye, opposed?
Aye.
Okay, opposed. One opposed. Okay. And, we're gonna have to ask you to write down what you said, because then I'll talk to Andrew. See if that's something that's even, in his opinion, legally.
The job
Because you said
will
it's
be
novel.
mostly
It's a novel
whether
idea.
there's a PLA or not. Why would we not allow opportunity to save money by not having a PLA? It's purely an economic issue. That's all it is.
Oh, I hear you.
I'd be interested to hear the opinion of Attorney Conley, the one who came in previously, on the idea you have.
Yeah.
I think that's more his field, so
Sure.
I think having his perspective on Armin's idea would provide some clarity.
Okay.
If we could get that in writing, a description that we could share with them.
Okay.
I'd be glad to do.
Is that something Dimeo would, in your opinion, you think Dimeo would say, yeah, I'll do that? I don't know, I don't know.
Everyone wants a PLA. OPM wants a PLA. They all want PLAs because it makes their job a lot easier. If there are strikes, if there are jurisdictional disputes, that all goes away. You pay a big premium for that. So of course, in left field want a PLA. I understand why they want one. As a taxpayer, I don't want one. It's that simple.
All right. That's
All
all.
right, I'm gonna push back.
Yeah.
I worked on PLA projects.
Yeah.
Yeah. We go on the recommendation of.
But you said in September meeting, this job will have a PLA. You did say that.
I said a PLA, so I'm referring to a PLA study. So the job has to have a PLA study, absolutely. We're gonna go have a PLA.
No, you said a PLA. You did say the study, but whatever.
We gotta hug it out
All right, at this time, public comment. Public comment, anyone?
No, that's exactly what I want to put it on a commission for a couple of.
Public comment, Mr. Pacenti.
So I just want to Armin brought up the point about waiving bonds. There is a state law that prohibits the waiving of bonds, around, health and education bonds. The building committee, who's issuing bonds, has, pushed back on waiving any of the bonds. It's, around general law 371314 that requires bonds. Whether that is interpreted that it's any general contractor and contractor, so whether you push Vimeo subs, you know, that's gonna be a little bit more in depth.
The job will be bonded.
No, I understand, we specifically asked if we could waive the general contractor's bonds.
Right.
With the intent that the subs would be bonded, and their response was, no, here's the law.
So, it was done just a couple weeks ago with no problem. So we'll have to see.
Right, so we'll have to figure that out, you know, and, just, you know, the city administration is obviously working with the school department and the building committee, but get this going. You know, so we're supporting.
As a construction manager, I did it several times in the town of Situate, the town of Boston. We waived my bond and I just bonded all the subs.
Right.
So the job, entire scope of work was bonded. It's just not double bonded. Because now we're gonna pay Vimeo $200,000-300,000, whatever his bond premium is for the construction. And he's gonna want all the subs to be bonded. It's something that has to be done.
Right, we just have to make sure that the bond issuer is okay with it. And Chris, if you've done it in the past with around health education, building education.
Yeah, so let me see what was it. So I know in the North Province to require town council to, I was, Matt McBurney is not here today. He was the senior PM that's running that job.
Yeah.
So let me talk with Matt about that. I want to say this, we are incredibly appreciative of the support. So whatever we can get you to help you make a decision on that. But to Armin's point as well, it is a little bit like you're doubling up.
Oh, yeah, no, exactly. But to Steve's point, I don't think the school department would need to bond stuff.
Puts the city in an awkward.
It does, yeah.
It puts the school department, the city, the school committee, the council.
Because that puts Mike and I in a position of being the general counsel.
Correct.
Yeah.
Which I wasn't general counsel. I'm just getting paid enough
How
to do
left
that.
field would, that would work with left field with the open. Yeah.
So, you know, I know Ryan is supportive of waiving them. That's one of their recommendations they sent to us yesterday in the call. You gotta get rid of the bond, and we said there's be looked into it.
Yeah, the left hand doesn't seem to know what the right hand is.
Yeah, well, Rhode Island.
Well, yeah.
Par for the course.
So that's all.
Thank you. Ms. Dolan, anything?
Only quickly, just I guess point of information. So the Teamsters are back in the building trades. How that whole thing works is a collection of individual construction trades belong to the Building Trades Council. They so choose, they pay their membership fees as any organization unions do. Why the operating engineers are not part of that, that's their choice that they made many years ago. The head of the building and construction trade would be a party to negotiate the potential PO.
Okay.
So it's 16 negotiated by the head of that voted on by the organizations.
Okay. Okay. No only members of the public. Okay. Committee member requests for future consideration. You can always ask. Other than that, next meeting would be December 4th. Looking for a motion to adjourn. Moved by Mr. Holmes, seconded by Mr. Lucy and Mr. Travis, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? We're adjourned. You stop recording.